And we're back to Yada Yada Gold. We're going to wrap up Physicalasia, this series, which has been just a fantastic series to kind of just dive in and learn a lot about culture and society and like a bunch of Southeast Asian cultures, West Asian cultures, Central Asia, all over the map. There's a lot to learn about this series. It's been very fascinating, and we've kind of come to a wrap up here with episodes. What is it? I believe 10 through 12, 10, 11, 12, I believe.
And what an ending.
Yeah.
What an ending.
Can't believe it, but we'll talk about it though, because there's a lot of things in there that I felt was, we'll just talk about it.
I don't know. I called it.
We can start off with that right away. And where we last left off, we were entering the dragging the balls challenge, the pillars challenge,
Yeah.
dragging the two balls challenge. And we anticipated that Australia didn't have a chance. And lo and behold, that was what was the case. So we then updated our finalists who would win it all type conversation. And with that, I maintained that my affection for Japan would ride through.
Yeah.
And
I think I did Japan.
you as well.
But I thought Mongolia was a dark horse.
Yeah.
Really, I thought it was going to be Australia.
If you guys go back and listen to the other podcasts, I did make a call that Japan was a good major favorite of mine too as well, but something was going to happen, right? That was going to prevent Japan from winning, and that's exactly what it was.
You did call Korea to win.
I did call everything.
You did call Korea to win.
I kind of did Korea too, but if
Yeah.
I was going to root, I would have said Japan. But
Yeah.
kind of
At
felt
the
like Korea
beginning of the whole series, I said Korea's made for this because of just who their roster.
Yeah.
And that the fact that they were built for this, and just how stacked their team was. But then I let that meta narrative conversation seep into my decision making, thinking there's no way a Korean made show hosted by Korea, you bring all these people in, and Korea would still win it all. Like, it just sounds kind of like
I know, especially with
a
it being
K-drama.
hosted by Korean. Yeah.
That's exactly what I predicted.
this was nothing more than just a K-drama for this group of Korean athletes who let's just create the drama in this.
And they were all actors, just part of a drama to have Korea winning in the all, winning all
like that. All the little scenes where they're just huddling at their table, saying, "Hey, look at that guy over there! Oh, he's got a gold medal." It just seemed like little, the story unfolding and then the drama. It was all really just they were just centering.
No, but in all serious, Korea had a phenomenal team. Yeah. They fought all the way to the very end, and all the other contestants in the other teams, they gave it their all too as well. Yeah. It was a very impressive ending, and I was very, very deeply satisfied. Looking forward to the next season, if there is one.
There was like accusations that Korea cheated.
Yeah,
like on the internet.
I didn't hear this. I looked up any of the commentary that's living out there about things that have happened. I haven't dove into that. I didn't want it to sort of sway any of the things that we were just kind of looking at from the show. But what'd you see, Roger?
Wait a minute. Speaking of which, we have Roger on this last episode.
Roger brings MMA and wrestling expertise to the table, and can comment on some of the physical rigors of some of these challenges. What was this point about?
I don't know. I just see stuff on the internet, and then there'll be people. There'll be like this one guy on TikTok. He was just kind of like carrying the log thingy, where it's like he said it was too heavy for two women to carry it, and then he tried doing it himself, and he was like comparing like two women can't carry this, but these are just accusations, and it's just like one. It's just one little thing.
Is that the conquer the castle scene? Where you had to bring the logs to break down the door,
and the guy is positioning that it's almost impossible for the two women who have carried that.
Yeah, for two women who have carried that. That's basically his argument. But then there's just like all these other little arguments that people will make.
But it's not truly like cheating. Like they blatantly cheated on like the Koreans did or anything like that.
No, I mean he's accusing like the idea that like Korea cheated because maybe they gave him a lighter log so the girls can carry fast. It's like stuff like that.
Can't believe everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then that's hard to tell. But also at the same time, a lighter log wouldn't be that advantageous because you still have to use that log to bang the door down.
Apparently,
and if it's lighter
know how to
too.
do that. That was just.
We'll get to that.
Oh, but we'll get to that. Let's just get to it.
When we last left off, we thought, with the pillar challenge, that Korea would win easily. And as much as the producers and the editors want to dramatize everything unfolding, because that's their job. It's very entertaining how they dramatize a sequence of activities that probably took place in 10 minutes or something. I don't know. I don't even know how long that whole thing was. The whole challenge. They only did it by reps. So Korea, easy win for the three fellas. I guess their tactic was to put out their weakest members for the rope battle challenge and save their tough guys for the next one. But
which was actually smart.
Which paid off.
Though. Yeah, it paid off.
We thought Australia probably wouldn't have a chance, and they put up a fight, and I know the editing makes it look very like close, but and then I think it was close too. I recall that if you look at, by the time Korea got 100, Mongolia was only on 85, around 85. We don't know where Australia was. I think they were probably trailing. I don't know. And then by the time Mongolia hit their 100, Australia was at 96. So 4 laps behind, which isn't very much. So they were probably very close. So I give them a ton of kudos for even like being able to keep pace like that. Because, man, that was like suffering.
It's grueling.
It just seemed like suffering. Like, you know how on a lot of these challenges end, you have this triumphant, yeah, we did it, or at least we did this, or we accomplished something. These challenges here, the rope battle as well as that one, it was like just torture. It was like we put these people through just torture, and by the time they're done, they can barely celebrate. They're just like, this was like nothing I've ever experienced. This was just constant torture, and just like it was kind of laughable just watching that, because it was no longer like fun games and competitive challenge. Like these competitors are just destroying themselves like in front of us. And like even when Australia realized they had lost, the light went up for Mongolia. They just looked up and they were so bewildered, like their faces, because they knew they lost, but they were just so like, I don't even, we did all this for nothing, and should I clap for them? What the hell,
That's
man?
the biggest thing. Yeah, they have to go through all of that
Yeah.
and still not win it. I mean, it's got to be heartbreaking.
But I mean, that's the brilliance of the games. It's not just a physical challenge, but it's a mental game of extreme struggle and pain to push yourself and win it. You know, I mean, Australia, they put up a good fight. And honestly, you know, again, if they weren't so disadvantaged by the idea of just the teammates that weren't going to be, you know, the 2 females that just weren't, well, particularly that one female,
Caitlin or
Alexandra. She's just not built for that, you know.
She's very light too.
Yeah, she's extremely light, and it was just too challenging and everything. But that one flub, that one mistake, if they just didn't make that mistake, and they had Eddie in there, Australia could win. They could have won the whole thing. Yeah. They actually were like the shoe-in. They had all the right pieces of the puzzle. They just made that one mistake that they didn't understand.
Let's say we swapped out Dom Tomato for Big Eddie Williams with the same 2 females on their side. They were 4 laps behind with Dom. Do you guys think they could have taken Mongolia if they had Eddie Williams and the...
That's hard to predict. It's hard to say still, because again, it's not just a brute strength, even though Eddie is built for that, being a strong man, but you never know. I mean, after 50, 60, 70 rotations, Eddie could have been like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, my legs are
pushing both of the females in the
yeah, the 2 females are just riding up.
They're just dragging.
But yeah, you know, you never know. It's a different world, an entire metaverse right there where Eddie is the lead and he's taking it and he's just crushing it. Who knows? Maybe Eddie was just so built for that he would have beat Korea's 3 guys. You know, you never know. But that just is what it is. I mean, it's not worth even imagining now, because it is what it is now. Yeah. But
it's the risk that they took there. But when they did this competition there, did they even, because they didn't know, like they would know that one team's going to survive, but the next team's going to go through something, but they didn't know what the next thing was or anything like that.
No one had any idea.
Everybody only presumed there would be another challenge. There wasn't given any.
Yeah, there wasn't even giving anything
that there would be a challenge, but everyone kind of had a sense of it. Even Australia, they had a sense. Yeah, there's probably something else, but we're just going to clean house here and we'll just go straight to.
So that's the biggest risk that Australia took, and in the end, it backfired them.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of say that Australia lost because they got too overconfident. and that's probably what it was throughout the entire series. Since the beginning, they were very overconfident, and maybe that was their Achilles heel, that was going to come back to bite them in the end.
I saw it in Robert Whittaker's eyes standing on the sideline, though. He was so mad because he knew it was over.
It was completely helpless. Yeah.
But he was like, you can see the face, like he's getting mad, like, oh man, I can't believe it's gonna end like this. And you can already see it on his face.
These buggers fooled me, or something like that. Like he did feel like, okay, I get it. It's the gamesmanship of this, but man, I just feel like we did all this work and we're at the mercy of this now. And
yeah,
it is what it is. You require weight to move weight sometimes, and when you're moving around, what is it, a 2,645 pound weight that's just dragging. The more weight you have, the better. I mean, it's just that's just the nature of it. That's the physics. So he's probably sitting back there thinking, man. But but to your point, like the whole overlooking the demands of the challenge and just saying, well, let's put our best forward. We're going straight to 5. That was the attitude they took. And obviously, we don't know all the sentiment they had because we only given what they edited for us to see. But it seems like that was the sentiment they adopted. And winning the first round of the battle ropes gave them that confidence. And there wasn't even a second thought as to, should we change it up? And I still think that was, and I pointed that out on the last podcast where they made their bigger guy, I forget his name, from Australia, go twice in that battle ropes round.
Oh, Blanca? I call him Blanca.
Yeah.
What's it? Big.
Yeah. And so, but those types of things, because they're just confident. They're like, yep, same tech, same rotation. Let's just do it. We got this, blah, blah, blah. And there's no thought given to like, well, let's just at least think about it and consider, maybe if we need a switch up or something. I don't know.
And there's an immense level of strategy that goes into these games. Now, it's not just a matter of brute force, brute strength, or even willpower. You do have to play into the game of strategy and trying to figure out exactly the balance of your teams and the strengths of your team members to see exactly which roles that they'll take on. And, again, I think what killed them is just that overconfidence. And it is what it is, In a different world, I imagine Australia would have took it all easily. If you look at the final games,
that's what I was thinking too. The final games,
the capture the castle, as well as the final one-on-one challenge at the very end. Australia had the right team members to have taken it all. It's just unfortunate they made that one mistake there, but it is what it is.
That's where they cheated. That's how somehow well, we can't get Australia. They're gonna automatically win. We need to take
let's do it so that they won't know what the next challenge is, and then relegate their lightest members for that one. They probably just switched some things up. But
you can say all the accusations, but yeah, Australia ends up getting taken out because I thought they were pretty much on top.
But Caitlin, CrossFit athlete, the hydro athlete, I think, and she was beasting. I thought if there's any reason Australia could still take it over Mongolia, she was the one that was
she was the one pushing it. Yeah. She was the main one right in the middle there. I mean, they bounced back and forth between her and Dom, but I mean, she stepped it up big one.
Huge. I think she was very much an X factor that first squad, because that's right in her wheelhouse too. It's kind of the reason why we thought Korea is just too stacked for this, because so much of this stuff is in their wheelhouse and of what they do, performing for fitness challenges and understanding that aspect. But
yeah, because every time they came back, it seemed like it was her who was pushing it. Every time I looked at Dom, his head was just on it, like pushing with his hand.
Great job, Caitlin.
You can't be doing that much.
Keep going, Caitlin.
But kudos to Mongolia for pulling it through, because it wasn't easy for them either. I mean, it was extremely tough, especially for the leader. Orkunbaya.
Hey, Adia Sarin though.
Adios.
The other one in there, she was strong too.
Yeah, she was pushing it too as well. I mean, their third girl, the volleyball player girl, Kansurin, she was just sort of dead weight.
She was pushing it. And it's hard to read. The way they edited it, it's hard to read, actually, like how much who's really carrying it. But yeah, similar sense there too.
That was a tough battle. I mean, when I was watching it and they got over the 50 point, 50 rounds, I was like, man, you're only halfway through. You still got to keep pushing. Then by the time Korea, they thought they were finished, and then they had to go back and kept going and going like 2 or 3 more times before their light went up, and was just like, oh, but they were just so far ahead. They just wanted to finish so they just can be done with it and not have to worry about it.
There was a point in time where they felt like they were confident in the number they had in their head, because I kept trying to figure out, is there a open tally that everyone can see to see who's ahead? I like it that there wasn't. I don't think there was an open tally. It's a mental game. You just have to figure it out.
Keep going.
Even your own team members were there to communicate with you. They could keep tally. I don't know if they were doing it. But it got to a point later on where I think, because they only made an announcement once. Here are the updated, They
were like 10 ahead. Yeah. Korea was like 10 ahead.
And that was it. So. And then after that, it was kind of like play it by ear, count yourself if you want, but there's no... that's why you keep going until you hope the light comes on, and it's just like, I must have lost count or something. But yeah, it's so close though. That mental challenge, it's so grueling because the inertia factor. I keep thinking about that these heavy stones being dragged in sand, you get no rest. You can rest, but as soon as you stop, it's just that much harder to get going again. So the way they edited it just seemed like it was a constant motion for all the teams, just constantly slowly moving, just no matter what, don't actually come to a complete stop, because it's a huge, but to not come to a complete stop, to not rest, that's the other aspect of that challenge that I thought was so much harder. I was thinking, would I have rather done that one or the ropes challenge? I know they're both just
I think I would have rather done the ropes one, because if you lose and you suck, you just lose, you suck, but when you're stuck with your teammates and you're pushing. And the challenge, what's very unique about both of these challenges too, is they use the same conceptual idea of you forcing a certain muscle group in your body, and it's only that. So what I mean by that, when you're doing the rope thing, you're just stuck doing the rope thing. And then when you're pushing it, it's not like you can have a dynamic where it's like, no, let's switch to the other side and pull instead and use some other muscles, or let's use this. No, you're literally just pushing the same way over it, using the same leg
very
muscles,
little adjustments
arms
here and there.
Yeah,
but
that just becomes very taxing and grueling on those same muscles until you cross the finish line. Both exercises kind of mirrored each other to a certain degree in that way, but it was meant for that final grueling push to the very end.
The key difference maker for me, they're both grueling, but you got a minute on the ropes, and it's like the worst minute of your life. But once you're done, you can take a breather. Yeah. You can get water. Like the whole pushing this, you can't stop. Like, there's no hey, let's just take a 30-second break. I need some water. I don't, unless there was and they just edited it out. But I get the impression that,
but it's just
but that's to your disadvantage.
It's always to your disadvantage.
Yeah, it just seemed like all the teams just went at it as much as they could. No one stopped. They just kept going. And again, I don't know how long it must have taken the whole time period. I don't know, but just the ability to not get water. But
that's the whole point of not being able to stop, because if you want to stop and you're looking at the other teams and they're still going, it forces you to be like, we can't stop, So it's always that mental game of forcing each other too. Now, if the other teams, I would imagine if one team stopped and the other one said, oh, they stopped, so let's take a break. And then the other one's like, hey, everyone stops, so we can take a break now too. Then maybe that might be the case. But if one team is just going and going and going, you're just kind of like, I have to keep up. We have to keep up. We're already falling behind. We don't even know exactly what our count is. Like, just keep going. Just keep going. It doesn't matter. And then you're just forced to go all the way to the end. And
it's the water aspect too. Like, I'm so thirsty. I need some water, man. Like, it's not even a fatigue thing now. It's like all this sand in my mouth.
Damn chains are on me.
I just water. I need water, please.
I gotta take a shit. Let me take a break. I'm tied to this damn thing.
Yeah, but then that moves us in. I don't know if you have anything else to say about that. That was an interesting challenge, but
I'll say one last thing about that though. I think out of the entire series, all the competitions, the first time they kind of pulled the fast one, which I kind of don't feel good on. And what I mean by the fast one is just the fact that, hey, we're going to surprise you with something. This is the only time where they couldn't actually strategize with their team, say, okay, if you did this, because if they did these two competitions and both teams knew exactly what they were getting into, Australia would have strategized it way easier.
No, they knew.
No, they had
No, but they didn't know
that there was a follow-up
second one.
challenge.
They said if you don't make it to, if your team doesn't win first place, you have to compete in the next challenge to survive. That's
Yeah.
what they said. So then
No, but you still didn't know that it was going to be
what
like a
it
pushing
was.
thing or
Yeah,
anything like that.
Yeah, but it's like they kind of put their strongest people in the first game.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's your fault.
But that's but not none other time in the competition was it something like that. It was just you get everything in, you know what you're going to do, and you're going to strategize and do it and complete it. But this
This
is
was the only one that did have a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I'm
You just
trying to-
didn't know what to expect. What the
Yeah,
next
and that's
thing
why
was.
Korea did so well because like the fucking Korean leader guy was like, "We're gonna put all our chips in the second game." Hong Young Kim, he
Yeah.
put all his chips into the second game. That's why he put his strongest people in the second game.
But all I'm saying
So
is
he-
it forced
no.
the teams to have to make that choice at this point.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's on you.
No, we get
And that's
that.
your.
We
That's
get
your
that.
And then that's fine. I mean, the way that they did it, it's fine.
But it's not like
And the
"Ah,
result
I
is
gotcha." No, it was.
But,
they-
but what I'm saying is, it would have been much, much different if it was just playing.
Could
for-
have been. Yeah.
potentially, but that's your fault.
It's the
That's how I
nature of
look
the
at it.
game.
I would even add is that the game could have been different too. What if it would just been a cardio game instead of a whole pushing game? Then those Korean guys would have lost because they had the bigger guy, and then those
Yeah.
Australians, and then
I mean, they had medium
Yeah,
guys,
no
but
one-
like that's
No
that's
one
their
knew.
fault too.
Yeah, no one knew what
That's-
the next game
it's
was.
whoever's fault.
But to Sangoy's point is the fact that I'm trying to think, even in the first two seasons, was there ever an instance where teams were presented a decision they had to make, and that would lead them to a challenge that they had no idea what to expect? I think there may have been times where they knew they'd go to a death match or some sort of challenge, but no one, or there wasn't an instance where the details of that subsequent challenge was given ahead of time.
Yep.
So that they
what I'm
could
saying.
brainstorm any of that. I think that was intentionally by design, and I kind of like that aspect too. Especially when no one is privy to know what the next game is. Like to your point, Chris, like had the second game been a 100% cardio thing, Korea may have been at a big disadvantage, and Mongolia, but we just don't know that, and so.
But that's all I'm going to say.
That's the
about it,
nature of the
'cause,
game. Yeah.
of course, this is the nature of the game. But I'm just saying it's weird how they just had that one time. We're just going to throw this in there to kind of just mix it up, because Australia was a team. Even if they didn't work smarter, they were still the best at working harder at what they do, because they would just go all out no matter what and be able to succeed like that. But without knowing it, not playing it right this time and not seeing it, that was their default. I mean, you got the two girls and then Tom D'Amato, but it's like, of course you're going to lose at that point.
Yeah.
You know? So,
No, that was the only game that had a hidden door. All the other games, you kind of knew exactly what you're getting into, and you can kind of strategize your teammates and their strengths and so forth. This was the only game that had a hidden door. So yeah, they did screw over Australia. So Australia should have took it.
but it is the nature of the game, like what Roger was saying. It's just, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I don't think they screwed over Australia.
Because they still
I'm
tried
joking.
to go all in on their first one, thinking that they were confident about it. And honestly,
Well,
they
it's a
did try.
Korean drama, and they had to figure out how to beat Australia
right.
in the most fairest way, where it still seems fair. So they had to figure
Korea
that
was
out.
the one presented with this dramatic decision of
It's like they knew.
let's not put our best people forward, and let's do this. We're going to take one for the team by just sacrificing this battle ropes round.
And then somehow Japan was like, we know that team, but we're gonna come out there and actually beat Australia, and they did. It's they kind of like,
I think Korea's smarter though, because they knew in the second match that the top two teams can go to the next round. Whereas the first match, you're putting your strongest people for only a first place getting to the next round. Does that make sense? You have two spots that should get to the next round.
I'm sure
So that's a better strategy, because then you have more survivability overall and for your team. And if you
all
notice,
of them had that. I'm pretty sure they had that strategy in mind too, as well.
yeah, I think that was a smart strategy.
Yeah, from Korea,
because
actually,
you have more survivability to the next round. And if you notice in the games, like I feel like if you watch the whole season, every team kind of gets strong in certain games and playing. So it's like kind of the idea is just surviving, I guess.
that's the way Korea played it.
Korea's always played
That's
this way.
one criticism I had of them the whole time, is that they never demonstrated that they're rising to the challenge to demonstrate their ability. They're always doing whatever it is to survive, even if it looks like in some instances they're playing it safe or playing scared or something. I was like critical about that last time, and I get it. There is a surviving aspect to it. So they're playing to that. Some would argue then Korea has some sort of, that's an unfair advantage to be so in tune to these physical challenges that how the game's going to be played. That might be a small disadvantage. But really, I think every team knew there was a door after that first challenge. No team knew what was behind the door, though.
Exactly.
Then that's it, and that's what does make that presentation a dilemma of how do we do this, because it is a wager. We're going to wager our best to win this and go all in and go straight to because that's what we believe in ourselves. So that's why I give so much credit to Japan for having that mentality to do that.
But if we're going to talk about which teams get screwed and so forth, I still would say Japan got screwed the worst out of every team, of every single competition.
Competition.
Yeah. Of everything and ranking, Japan got screwed the hardest. They just had to figure out another way and write into the script of how we can eliminate another team. And it was written the way Japan got screwed over, and which presents we go to the next session of the capture the castle, right?
Yep, capture the castle.
I feel like that was absolutely 100% disadvantage to Japan.
Why?
Remember how we were talking about the whole shipwreck one? Bringing all the sandbags and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a little bit more fair, and we were so impressed because pound for pound, Japan was one of the best. But there's one thing that Japan lacked that all the other teams had, and you know what that was?
A tank.
A tank. They didn't have the tank, and that's the big advantage of that last part of capture the castle, of lifting the gate. You needed that tank, the heavy tank, to be able to just pull their weight and use their weight to pull down. And Japan didn't have that. That's why then you went back and you saw the replay of it. It was so sad. They went on.
It was.
I mean, they were like,
I saw disappointment.
They were very competitive as far as the timing goes up to the gate part. And it literally just went on like 15, 20 minutes, 40 minutes.
They would go through different cut scenes.
And then
They were trying on top of the wagon. They stood.
They did everything they could, but they just couldn't do it because they didn't have the tank.
Sad. That was
They just didn't have a tank. If they had a tank, then I think it would have been a totally different thing, because that part did require a very heavyweight person to help just pull the weight down, and everyone else can kind of drag it.
Not necessarily, though. You could have just pulled it from far away and just let, like how Korea did it.
No, I mean, Korea was able to do that, but you got to remember, Korea has a tank. That's one. They're big guy. And then you also got Young Sung Bin, who's extreme. He's almost a tank. He's just not as big, but he's extremely strong. And then the rest of the guys are pretty strong too.
They're all strong.
They're all pretty big and strong. And
you could pull it closer than at that pulling thing.
But I'm not saying that Japan, they didn't have strong guys, but they didn't have the weight. They were just way less in weight. So
they should have did like Mongolia and Thai, everything.
They could have, but they couldn't figure that out. But Mongolia also has a tank too as well, and that kind of helped. But you saw how hard it was for Mongolia to try and pull theirs down, and smart enough, the scrappy dude just figured it out. And at first they got in that big argument.
Well, I think that a tank wouldn't have been just helpful for that. It would have been helpful for the whole thing. It would have been helpful to push the whole thing. It would having a tank, someone who's 250 plus or 300 plus. Eddie Williams is in the high 300s. Japan's heaviest guy is probably low 200s. And so we talked about their cumulative weights in the past and how Japan has to sort of overcome that depending on the challenge. Some challenges, there's just an undeniable fact that the more weight your team has, that gives you a subtle advantage in certain things if all the other weights are equal. That's why in the last challenge, they adjusted some of the weights for in the very last challenge. But in this castle takeover, everything was even across the board. They all transported the same amount of weight. Now it's up to your tactics and strategy to do it. But I agree with that. The Japan, they were at a loss. But even if they did get the gate up, I think they were still just so far behind, even up till then.
You think so?
I think so.
I rewatched it and looked at some of the times, and I'm surprised how close Mongolia and Korea was.
Yeah.
They were very close. By the time Japan even got through the castle gates and through the walls and finally pushed the thing over, they were already really behind. So, yes, it is very sad to see that they're going to torture themselves for the next, 30 minutes just trying to figure this out and fail. And
they couldn't figure it out. So
sucks so bad.
But they were probably thinking in their head, maybe the other teams went through the same thing.
They had to
couldn't
think
get it.
That's their hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe whoever made this obstacle, they screwed up. This isn't doable. And like it locks halfway.
But when they're actually doing it though, didn't they show like the camera scene where it started rising a little bit? Like when they're doing it?
But then they dropped it down and you saw them, they walked with it front like something broken.
Yeah,
and they were like looking around there.
But they made it seem like they actually finished it or something like that because it showed some kind of like push forward.
It was going about halfway, and I even saw the commentary. They're like, "Yeah, we got it halfway," and blah blah blah. And then they went to the black screen. And
so I thought that, damn, at least Japan finished it. And then when you show it, they didn't even finish it. That was just pure disappointment. Like, well, what really happened? And then you see everything that happened.
I kind of knew something was going to happen when they cut it off, or else they would at least showed it like close or something. So I knew something was coming up.
But I didn't think it was going to be like that though. How they showed it in the end.
Yeah, it's just that's how I predicted Japan was going to lose the thing. Something was just going to go against them.
Well, and as much as I've given kudos a lot of kudos to Japan about them being these pound for pound wizards, these overcoming the odds with less weight, but their strategy and their thinking for everything was just not. They weren't on their game.
Yeah, they were off.
So
they were
that's why even if they had their tank, whatever. If they had a tank, of course that'd be helpful. But every little tactical things, like breaking down the door, they couldn't break down the door.
They used the wagon, right?
They're like, you know what? Let's just use the wagon. It was kind of crazy.
It didn't work, but
I like that. It didn't work, but maybe like
they were just like running the
whole form
barricade into there.
They would take a few step backs and hold together, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and they would sort of run into it.
Yeah, run into it, like bang. Like, why isn't it doing it? Why aren't they
over and over? And they felt helpless.
Yeah.
When you look back at the other two teams that did it, they counted off in unison. They all planted their legs and swung back.
Mongolia did it with the cart that was right by the door, and they had to go under like the cart little front thing like that too, and they still got it open. Like
and they made a comment about, they knew right away. They said, let's hit this. Let's just attack one door. Like your natural impulse is to hit it right in the middle. Let's break it. He's like, no, it just attacked one door. They attacked the left door. And that's what they got in, like 3 swings, maybe 4 swings, whatever. And but that was really smart too. Like they just knew. And so Japan, they were like running into the door, hitting it right dead center, and it's just like all that impact would just diffuse across both doors. And so they just couldn't get. And the form was not like some of the guys just had it like this. They're like kind of swinging it, just like
but it was it wasn't even like a full blown swing and smash. It was more like just run into the door with it and let it just drop. Like no force after that. It's like
it must have been deflating when they just, you know what, we can't do this right now. Let's just give up on it and go back to the wagon. And so they were just bewildered. They weren't on their game. So even if they had a tank that day and they were still scrambled like that, I don't know if it would have made a difference because it was a tactical thing that.
Then it comes from Yushin Okami. Then I saw his little thing. Don't worry, I feel very confident about this, and I know what I'm gonna do, or we're gonna survive. But
in our Japanese history, we're known for breaking down doors like this. But he said it kind of like tongue in cheek, like he was kind of laughing about it, which he's probably speaking after the fact and feeling embarrassed by the fact that they couldn't do this. And so, but yeah, the swinging of the door. Each team had their own tactic, and I look back and just look at like some of the details for how they got across, but. I mean, these are just like weights and U.S. metrics and stuff like that, just to give a sense of everything. But overall, I think in the last podcast we were saying like, man, I feel like they haven't had a challenge like the one in the previous season where they had to pull the entire ship up and do a team challenge, and this was the one. And it was damn impressive. Like I was watching it. It was very good theater. Like it was the music, the hype, the strategy, the set. Everything was just like, it was just spot on. Like it was like damn good. It was very much reminiscent of the feel of what it means to work as a team to overcome a big challenge or take over a castle or take over this or assign people certain roles, and then you're in the moment panicking. So one thing that I recall a lot was like the fact that they ran into the wall or ran the ram into the door and just like bewildered and let's just go try that. And then Mongolia at the end, they couldn't do it. So they're like, let's just grab the log and do that. And their leader was like, in his face is like, this isn't gonna work, man. He's like breathing hard and he's like, what are you doing? You can't take for granted just how much it means to be focused when you're panicked, because everybody was on the clock and no one knew how fast, and they were so panicked, and yet they're giving so much of themselves at every little aspect. That's why even the leader was like, time is of the essence. We don't have time to waste on this little project you're doing, bro. Like, and the scrappy guy but he was like, just trust me.
Even I didn't trust him. I was like, what is he? Man, this ain't gonna work either. What is he doing?
Like, it seemed like a lot of work.
I never doubted him once. I have faith in that guy.
He kept saying, he's like, just trust me. And I'm like, man, it's a lot of work and a lot of energy to expend on this. You better.
Even when it worked, I was like, see?
They literally had to pick it up, wrap up the chains around it, and then after that, the scene with the show that everybody jumps on it and brings down. It actually brought it up. I was like, wow, that's a good idea then. I mean, how they did it.
It actually kind of worked. But I don't know. I'm a little confused by a lot of that, though. I did some digging into the whole pulley system of like what it means to lift up a bridge that weighs, I had it on here. It was like 800 kilos, and I forget what that translates to. But just to do that through a pulley system and everything, because what was confusing is that when Mongolia did all that work to wrap it up just to get it going, like, just to get it off the ground. So it gave me the impression that the hardest part, you would think, is that initial getting it off the ground, especially when the tension on the bridge is all the way at its far end. You got to pull it on that end. You know? That's a different sort of pull versus just pulling rocks that weigh the same amount straight up, you know? So there's a different sort of pull so I imagine it's the hardest to get it off the ground, but once you get it around here, it gets a little bit easier. I imagine. So Mongolia had to do all that just to get off the ground. Now, Japan was an interesting scenario because
I don't know what Japan was
thinking. Got it off the ground so easily, actually. When they first got their hands on it, they were standing very close to it, and they pulled down, and the door went up like a third of the way.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine the smart thing to do is be like right up close, like pulling it straight down rather than all the way back at this angle.
But
you're actually pulling it straight down that where the pressure on the rope and the bridge.
You can do that, but you need more power and more strength to do that, though.
Yeah, you do, but again, it's just to get it off the ground. You take all your heaviest guys and you all hold on the rope and you jump up and hang down.
As long as you have the power,
use your
you can
own
do it
body weight just to try and get it off the ground first and then drag it back. But then, I don't know, Japan did that weird thing where they wrapped it around the wagon. You know what I'm talking about? And I was like,
Mongolia did that.
Was it Mongolia?
They tried that first. But they took the rope and they're like, let's just use the wagon. They like wrapped it around.
That didn't make any sense to me.
I understand how that works, though, because the more gears and pulleys and stuff, it makes it easier. Because it's going to take more time to do it, but it's less work on the power. But the thing was, the wagon was not heavy enough. It wasn't
not only that,
movable object, so it just kept them pushing the wagon back instead of pulling the gate up.
But also, like the rope itself there was too much tension and too much
friction
on the rope.
If there was a pulley system on the wagon, that might work. It would actually. So I did some digging into this. This is all like the field of physics and mechanics and stuff, but just the whole pulley system. If you're pulling a rope on one pulley that's anchored to something, there's no mechanical advantage from the pulley. Your pull has to be the same as what that weighs. The only time you get mechanical advantage is if there's an additional pulley there. So when you have two pulleys and then it's like divided in half and
it divides it. Yeah.
So, but we don't know the inner makeup of this whole system and the gate thing. And so to your point, like Amati made the point, like what you need to do is back up further and pull it at an angle, and he insinuated that gives you some sort of actual advantage from a physics perspective, like it's lighter or something. And I don't think that's the case if it's just single pulley, but it is the smarter thing to do biomechanics wise, meaning the way your body's positioned. Because ultimately what the difference is that if you look at how they're pulling here in Korea, it's all about your ability to anchor, your ability to lean back, because you're using way more back muscle, everything lean back, versus when you're standing right under it, you only have kind of this ability to go down.
just to go down.
Just to
Shorter
go down.
distance, but
The weight is still the same though. It's not like it's easier weight on you if you lean back. It's a different position, and plus you anchor yourself to the ground, and that's where you have to work in unison to get that up. But again, to my point earlier, it was just strange how Mongolia did all this work just to get it off the ground. Japan got it off the ground fairly easily and just got stuck from there. And they couldn't do it anymore. And so they got it off the ground fairly easily. I rewatched it when they first did it. They pulled it and just, because I think that's what these weighted balls are for too. The weighted balls are there for, I imagine because your collective team, your whole weight, they showed it in the following episode. It's like in the 500 kilos or whatever. And then the door itself was like 800 some plus kilos.
800 kilos?
Yeah. So
that's like 1,700 pounds, it says.
So the balls, I think, are there to sort of give you that extra weight to pull. Plus, it's also, I think, it's probably a safety mechanism where, let's say you're all pulling and then you're just like,
one
you can't
person
do
loses it
and just loosens it.
And everybody
comes
falling
forward maybe. And so the weight kind of gives a slow, like...
yeah, but what if you're underneath that ball like that and that ball falls right on you, man? I don't know how heavy that ball is.
That's why there's those...
That's a death wish right there.
I don't think it wouldn't fall like...
I don't think it can fall down.
It won't fall because
that's
it's
too a high
being
risk.
pulled back up unless the rope snaps. Somewhere. Then it falls.
That's an automatic death right there.
But I don't know. The whole thing's fascinating though. We don't know the actual like inner workings of how they built the thing. So it was just strange how Mongolia, I mean, impressive that they used their ingenuity to just come up with something on the spot and get it going. But man, Japan just got stuck there. But to the point about Japan, a big guy, a big 300 plus guy who's strong, goes a long way there. It goes a long way. So
yeah, they were just so disadvantaged by their weight without having that big guy in this whole challenge. It just, I don't know, for me, they just had no chance. It was just too tough. And it's not a knock on Japan at all because they're just such a tough team. It's just the way the system works, and based on your strengths and your size and weight just had everything to do in this mission.
Well, and I'll say that, I'll just jump right into the final challenges too. The same principle carries over in these final challenges where
Wait, before we start in the final challenge, what are your thoughts on the final challenge? I mean, they always save the best for last. How did you guys feel about it?
In terms of the game design
and everything? And everything.
I think
I think the castle one should have just been...
You like the castle one more?
I think that should have been more of a finale than this finale. This finale just seems so... I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't like the big finale. Because the whole theme on the physicalasia, how they did the shipwreck and there's the sand, and you would think it's going to be something. This seems like more of a challenge before the big finale or something like that. That's how I felt about it.
I don't know. For me, I thought it was brilliant, especially the tug of war one, the team tug of war.
Yeah, I mean the push of war, or
the push of war, push of war, that tug. Yeah, the push of war box ones.
Game design.
The game design was I was fascinating. Yeah, I as soon as that one came on, like that was by far one of my favorite designs of all the games. It was a whole team. It incorporated everything: strength, strategy, speed, and it required every part of your entire team to everybody to play a major role. So I love that as a final. I actually wish that would have been like the final actually, but
my wish watching that one and the castle one, I just couldn't help but say, I wish all the teams could have done all these challenges.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to see Turkey do this challenge, Mongolia, all the other, Indonesia, all of them do these challenges just to sort of strategize.
And plus, I wanted them to do it because it utilized all 6 members at the same time. I like seeing that more,
Where they're not taking turns, or they're not passing this back and forth or waiting or depending on another team player to do something and watching. No, I forced the whole team to work in collaboration with each other simultaneously in order to win that. Yeah, jumping into the push of war, that one was That one was really interesting.
That was fun to watch.
It was very
It
fun.
was very versatile. I mean, a lot of the games are just like solo, who can last longest, who could do the fastest. But that one's very versatile. I like the versatile ones too.
Yeah, that first round right there when Mongolia took it, I was like, Mongolia is tough.
Damn,
They're
that was
strong.
legit.
They're damn strong. You cannot budge an inch on Mongolia. Though they're just beastly. Even Korea was like, man, they're too damn strong. I don't know how we're gonna beat them. They're ungodly strong. Yeah, in that first round, them going back and forth. But it was, then it came down to strategy, and Korea had a really good game plan. Young Sun Bin ran and jumped over to the other side and pushed. And I think the strategy of that game is really get in early. Just get in early. You have the advantage just because you have one box already on your side, so then you can focus all your attention on one. And then it forces the other team to say, we have to lose one of our team members to catch back up and grab that box. But if we do that, then we're going to fall behind here.
So how do we allocate the right team members to the right spots?
Exactly. So it was a matter of allocating. And I guess, if you jumped in early, then you're just at a higher advantage if your box is on your side, because you can always allocate someone else just to block. It's a lot easier to, I would imagine, to play defense than go offense.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, because once you go on offense and you're already on that offense and your box is already crossed over their side, you just basically you can find anybody, like one of your weaker team members to actually just play that defense.
Locking yourself in is a lot easier than actually gaining ground.
Yeah.
Gaining ground is that's where you have to be very good about distributing your energy in certain places, because gaining ground is where you exhaust yourself the most, but you have to know how to do it right. But my point earlier about the castle one and this one, even if Japan went in this one, I keep going back to the whole weight thing. Yeah, strategy matters a lot. You have to be fast, but there's still something about weight factor still mattering in this, giving you some advantage. If both teams, all things being equal, in terms of mostly equal with their speed and or strategy, but Japan just has a little bit lighter or whatever, the team with the weight still has that advantage, because you can dedicate one big guy to anchor one position. That frees up 5 other members to do some things. Like if you had one big guy or something, so even if Japan had won and proceeded to this, I didn't see Japan winning any of this at all as well.
But then that's also why it was brilliant for them to say that wasn't going to be the only final. We're going to have the ball lifting and also the
running one.
Yeah,
I wanted to see that one so badly. The
running.
infinite touch tail tag.
Yeah.
Because that's it. It could go infinite, and so whoever gives up first.
But if that happened, I knew Korea would destroy.
I know.
I didn't think Mongolia had a chance.
Mongolia, they weren't really good runners.
Because that's again, Korea, they're built for this stuff, for these marathon type. Mongolia's built for their sport, their specific sport, their judo, their thing, but they're not built for that running thing. I knew that when they were debating which one should we do, I knew they weren't going to do the running thing, because.
Which reminds me, the whole thing about the whole castle one, they did you had to do the pre-run to see who, and you actually get the advantage of the map.
Yeah.
Do you actually think the map the map?
I don't think so. But we didn't.
Barely.
Did they show the map to the?
It was Korea.
Yeah.
They
They
showed
showed
the
the screen, but did we see that?
It was like a digitalized copy of the map.
Was it this one here?
At least
It was
saw
just
it
real quick.
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah, it was
all it was is that.
Just gives you an idea.
But it gives you an idea of there's some cargo, there's a bridge.
Yeah, it's barely an
It's going to be
advantage.
one.
Yeah, I don't think it's the hugest advantage. I mean, it's an advantage, but it's not that. It's not big.
But it's a few seconds of an advantage of knowing where to go.
But even then,
But even the running competition, the mini game
running
was
competition,
fascinating
yeah.
too, because that comes with some strategy. You think that the whole transition would take too long, so you have to transition only rarely. But really, if you
it was.
have
I
the
think that was
time
just
to do your burst,
timing your burst,
timing your
speeds on
burst, and then exhaust yourself for 20 seconds, switch out, and just switch out fast or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Korea won mainly because I think strategy is the reason why they won the whole show. I think they're all pretty athletic, but I think they won based. I think they had the best strategies, survivability, putting which guy to which thing. I think that's why Korea won.
I would
I
agree.
wouldn't say just that though. They were really good at adaptability too. Because if the strategy didn't work or something, they were quick and fast to adapt to the challenge and actually put something on there for it.
I mean, but their strategy. I'm not saying that. I'm not taking away any of their strategic ability. They are very strategic, but then that again goes back into this. advantage of them knowing this, like having the experience of what it means to go through a physical 100 process and being able to be strategic. But sometimes that strategy did work against them. Remember, they went all in, putting Yun Sun Bin and Dong Hyun Kim on the zigzag hurdles,
and they lost.
and their strategy like blew up in their face. So they kind of got lucky that so some of that could happen too. I mean, if your strategy,
but they also worked really well in the teamwork thing. So like there was the ball and chain thing. I feel like they were way more in sync compared to Mongolia, and that's why they won that ball and chain. You know, I'm talking about the very last. Yeah, the last one. I feel like they were way more in sync than that. I think that's why they.
But
won.
that's the whole thing. Even like the pushing cart one, they lost their first match. Because they didn't have a strategy. They were kind of just like, oh, well,
and then they developed the strategy. And I don't know if you remember the big fat Korean guy. Like they said, everyone step to his step. So when he steps, we step together with him. He's our leader in the weight. So I was like, and that's when you saw like the moment like Mongolia had the edge over them, and they pushed Mongolia all the way back with that strategy. I don't know if you remember that.
That was the whole strategy.
They were able to push them all the way. Usually it's like stalemate, and they were able to push all the way to their side.
But that's why what they did was they learned that, because in the first one they tried to do the same thing, but they didn't know how to time a step into it, and they were like, "How is Mongolia this strong pushing us back when we got a big guy and everything?" But that's when they realized that when it's a push together, you push together as a team in sync with each other, because it just creates that hurdle of the people holding it. Because that's all you're trying to do is just beat the other person holding it on that end to gain a little bit of space. And when you do that, instead of just one person push here, one person hold there, or whatever the case might be. But
could you say it could have been one of those things for the last final challenges where maybe it was the team with the weakest link? If you were left with the weakest link on your team, that could be the falter of why your team loses.
Are you talking about the pushing?
Even the pushing one a little bit, but the pushing one, there's still a lot of dynamics because there's a lot of strategy that runs back and forth. Like you can switch off back and forth. But in particular, like maybe the ball lifting one, because you had to be in sync. And if one person wasn't in sync, or
you had a stacked squad, but your weakest link was very weak.
Yeah, too weak.
How big of a difference does that make?
Yeah. I think it may come down to that. Because like what Roger was saying, strategy wise, Korea, they were in sync with the big guy who was leading the entire way. So when he stepped, everyone stepped perfectly, and then everybody. Well, the wrestling girl was having a tough time. I was watching her. She was on the end, and she kept tripping and falling. And then I looked at the big guy, and he was like laying down.
That's what I'm saying.
Like next time, get up, man. But again,
I can't do it.
But the thing was, maybe they didn't understand. He was probably the one holding everyone down, like holding the whole thing just by laying his whole weight down on the floor. But he was like straight on his belly like that.
But he messed up in his positioning. I understand what he was saying, because once you're laying down and all the weight's like trying to pull you back up like that.
Yeah.
If you're not in the ground, all you're doing is holding on with your arms, though. You can't like push forward or do anything, because the moment you push up, you're gonna feel like you're just
being yanked back. And especially if you feel like I have to be like this because I'm anchoring the team down. I'm the heavy guy. So if I let myself go, then I don't know.
Yeah, because the brilliance of that game and the way they designed it was the balls and the weight that you were pulling really were matched up to the weight of your team.
And that's the first time they start mentioning all the weights.
And that's what's really interesting about it. So what happens in that strategy is that, when you're all pushing against your own weight and you're on level 5 now, like Roger was saying, everybody needs to be in sync. Like you move directly at the same time. And if you do have that one weak link right there who isn't moving, or isn't doing their side of the job, it was an all team effort. That's the brilliance of that game. That everybody in that team had to be moving together as a team, in sync with one another, pushing it inch by inch, because you're really just pound for pound pushing against your own weights, against your own team. So you're all actually lifting and you're holding on and you're pulling and pulling and pulling. So it's a matter of which team was the most in sync with each other to actually get to the finish line to pull the flag.
It was really fascinating. They had mentioned it was the circus, the circus athlete from Mongolia saying it's easier said than done to say that we know that we're supposed to be in sync, but doing that is so impossibly hard when everybody's sort of just dangling, sort of just to maintain their ability. So I think it's fascinating to think that your weakest link can be such a big factor in that last one, because it's your collective strength as a team. It's that to move it, but it's also, if a team member is holding you up or imbalanced or something, that could really throw you off. And Mongolia in that last one, they had that panic move where they ran in and their female basketball player like tripped up and like fell right away, and just it was hard to recover from that. I think the brilliance in a lot of that challenge, as well as the pushing one, is that it's strategic and you're trying to figure this out, but it's the team really that can mentally figure it out first too. Because if you want to go at it brute strength, you could try, but it's fascinating to see how like Korea did that whole challenge, and Korea and Mongolia, when they got to the fifth one, they both got 35 seconds remaining in that one. That was kind of fascinating how they both did that.
I don't know. That was kind of rigged a little bit. They got there exactly by the right second to make them challenge each other at different times.
The same string.
But then when they did it again, like Korea destroyed their time. You know, like they had they had 2 minutes left, I think. Because then it's just a matter of figuring it out. Who was the first team to figure out the best way to do this? And so is talking about it and watching is different than feeling it. I imagine it is that in sync thing. Like, but that's what the game's brilliant, because if you want to be in sync, you have to pace yourself correctly, and you can only go at the pace of your weakest link. But if you're going a little bit too slow, then you have panic because you see the other team going a little faster. So let's speed it up a little bit. But the more you speed it up, the more you lack that in sync push. So it's kind of like wrestling between like, the panic of wanting to do this and win and brooding it out versus it reminds me of a lot of the Greek military, the phalanx, where you have the shield on one side and everybody's protecting each other and they all move in unison, inch by inch, you know, like with their shield. And that's how they would have to defend themselves or destroy an army, because it's hard to push with all of them interlocked and moving together once. But if there's like a weak link, you know, like the guy with the weak left arm that couldn't in 300, he couldn't do it. He's like, no, I'm sorry, you can't. It's kind of like that principle of like, you have to all collectively push to even gain ground. The same principle is true of that pushing thing. That middle one is 660 pounds. It's on a railing system, so I'm not sure how like how it feels. Yeah, the boxes that you move. With Mongolia, sort of just, they all brooded it out the first round. And I feel like they had some strategy, but they all brooded it out. And they realized like, wow, Mongolia had this strength and we couldn't do it, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're just expending energy randomly. And that's what happens if you're panicked. So that's the brilliance of the game, is that your ability to not only be physically, you know, dominant, but also do this right. There's a technique and know when to expend energy, know when to, and so Korea in the second round, third round, Mongolia didn't adjust. They kind of pulled in Australia where like same tech, same routine, we're good. We won the first round, we feel confident. Yeah. They never adjusted.
And they only reacted to what Korea did.
Yep.
You know, like one person ran there, okay, you go. Yep. And if they come back, then we'll just hold here, you know.
So when Korea was pushing and they were just like gaining so much ground against Mongolia's members, there is a strength aspect to that. But for the most part, it's the in-sync aspect of it emulates exactly the tush push, I think. Because the tush push is so effective in the NFL because it's the timing. It's that timing and collective push. It has to be a collective push. And you have to time that collective push right, too, because Korea was timing that collective push when Mongolia's guard was down. And so that's the only way you make ground, is if you have a big collective push when the other side's anchors are sort of letting up just slightly, and then you can gain a few inches.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And so Mongolia never like recovered from that. Like, oh, they're beating us, so let's brood it out. Let's keep holding it out. So you go into panic mode. And panic mode sets in, and you're like, oh, what do we do? And that's where Korea just kind of like little by little inch the way through. Because, yeah, the tush push is really that exact sort of molding of that movement there. That's why it's been so effective, because the advantage you have when you're the offense of a tush push is that you get to snap the ball. You know the timing. Yeah. You can know when to move it. And if you practice it over and over, I like the tush push as an example too, because it's not like it's easily people duplicate it. Like only one team does it well. Like all the other teams try it and they're not good. Like so there's technique to it.
Oh, Tom Brady was kind of good.
He was actually the innovator.
No, when we started the whole thing,
they didn't even need anyone to push his tush. He just went by himself and always got it.
Got it every time
for some reason.
But I think the whole strategy of that one too was just to have one main one that's going to be your one that you're going to fight for, as in have enough distance on their side. But it's the big battle, but it's a switch between the other ones too. So
You're talking about the push war?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, strategy wise for me in the push war, this is the way I look at it, just going back at it, right? The most valuable one is the center one, the heaviest one. Reason being is because that's the heaviest one. If you're at the advantage and you're ready, it's already more on their side where you already push down their side. Because it's the heaviest one, it's the hardest one to actually gain ground.
Even if it's all 6-on-6.
Yeah, so that's why they always focused on that one. But the reason why the other two were different sizes too, and the interesting part is because they're much easier and faster to move, which means that, like, for example, in the second round, when Young Sung Bin moved that little one all the way to the other side, it's really quick, it's really fast, no one even saw it. But to move that one all the way to the other side and to get that small one at way on the other on your side already to the other side to cross the line, that's a far distance, you know. So even though it's a lot lighter, you're moving a much further distance to try and get there. So to get that traction back, it's very, very tough if you have an equal amount of force fighting against you already.
You got to cover so much ground.
Exactly. So then, I mean, the middle one was always a little bit tricky. That was kind of the X factor that's kind of in between. But everyone always focused on that main big one because, again, it's so much harder to move ground if you're on the negative side. If you're on the losing side and it's already moved forward, like to push that one all the way through. Like for me, honestly, if I was already losing, like majority of it, right, I would have just given up on the big one if it was too much on my side already. And I would have just maybe tried move everything, to the middle one, and just move the entire team that way. Because that'd be a little bit more easier to push, and you might be able to overcome them if you're able to fight it through. Where that big one right there, if you're already losing there, your chances of pushing it back was very slim. Yeah. But again, like you mentioned, when you're in that panic mode and you're just kind of like, oh no, somebody over there. No, you go over there. Okay, we're losing ground. No, they're pushing us. We're losing this one too.
Didn't you see in the first one, the what's her name? The Korean wrestler?
Chang?
Yeah, Chang. Mm-hmm. She was like standing there just like guarding the box and like no one's coming over. I know she has to like protect it, but it's like it's just kind of like a waste. You know? If no one's gonna come do it.
You don't know what to do. Yeah.
You should be there like sitting there. And obviously if someone runs through, you gotta go back in there and defend it. But she was there for like a while, just like, but I mean, what am I supposed to do?
And when she's there, it's kind of like I guaranteed this point already. Until they send a big old guy to come over here and fight me against this. Like advantageously, I'm holding our guaranteed 1 point. You guys just fight for the other point. That's it. As long as you guys win the other point somehow, then this one's already locked and loaded. You know,
for someone to try to steal that, it would require them to completely ignore it for a long time. Meaning the other team would have to go and push it all the way back,
and it might be too late by then.
So like to your point, covering that distance is a big advantage too. Like just because to steal it back is so hard, you have to cover so much ground just to get back.
That's what the middle one gives advantage as well too. Because if you're in the middle, if you want to go to the other two, you can just go like that from the other two. But if you're, let's say you strategize, let's get the outer ends, then your travel from the outer ends is longer.
Very true.
So that's like the middle one is like.
Like right in the middle, so if you want to spread your teams and allocate back and forth.
That's exactly That's what Korea did in the final ones. And
see, that's all true too, because you have to have a strategy going in sort of neutral wise, but in terms of what the best way to do it. But your best strategy is, I think, for that game, your best strategy just has to be in anticipation of what the other team will do. Meaning, like, after you played a round of this, you have to sort of anticipate what they're doing, and it's a risk. The game reminds me boils down to the principles of like rock, paper, scissors, tic-tac-toe, because at the start of every round, you've already made your selection where you're going. They've made their selection. From there, you either then learn from that round and then try to switch it up next round, or because if Mongolia never changed their strategy at all, because if you see now second round, Young Soo Bin runs out there and then like, oh, we lost the second round. I thought a good strategy would be screw the middle one. We just need enough people, maybe 2 people, to beat Young Sung Bin if he's going to go that route, Or let's just split our team in half. Half of us go to each side. Let them have the middle one. But you have to anticipate that they're going to be going for that middle one.
Yeah.
So once you kind of see that, if you split your team in half, 2 people can take. Young Sung Bin is very strong. I get it, but 2 people, just the nature force of that, 2 people, they would have beat Young Sung Bin. Screw the middle one. Let them have the middle one, but if you can be the first to the outside ones, split your team in half. Just win those. because they would allocated all these resources to that middle one.
Yeah, but they would have to. It's a reaction versus a reaction too. On
that's
both
what I mean.
sides.
There's a rock
if
paper
they stay
scissors.
up, they would have to switch.
Exactly what you said. That's what they did. They just split off. They said, screw the middle one. So Mongolia all runs to the middle. They push the middle all the way to the end, right? Because no one's blocking the middle now. No one's defending the middle on the Korean side, right?
Are you saying like if you're Mongolia, you screw the middle one? And
No. You're saying like, let's just say if Young Sung Bin went to the side, right? And everybody, let's just say Korea just said, screw the middle one. All Korea went to the sides, right? Then Mongolia just took over the middle one. Mongolia moves the middle one all the way to the very end. And then once they already moved it all the way to the end, right? Then they go, okay, we reclaim the big middle one, and they split their teams off to go and fight you on the other ones. Yeah, it's going to be really, really challenging. But then all they have to do is they can stack 100% of all their teams, let's just say on the little one. Versus Youngsun Bin, and the Korea would have to send all their entire team there, but they're already behind because the big one's right there. And then at the last second, they're gonna go, all right, we gotta send some people to try and get that big one in the middle, and they send that, and that's a long way to push that big heavy one in the middle. And then that would counter them, and they would
just
then
requires more people, for the middle one. Yeah,
but that's a good point. I would say if I were to run that strategy, but this strategy is only based on the premise that I already knew that they're setting Youngsun Bin on one side and the rest of the team in the middle. And if I just said, if I anticipate them doing that, let's just split our team in half and go on the sides. We would win those two sides. They would win the middle. But to your point, they would say, okay, they would then rally their whole team on one side and try to win that. By then, I would assume that we've already made it all the way.
Yeah, you would have made it already.
So now they're going to use their whole team to try to win. And I think, again, to our principle earlier, that would have given enough time since we're already way over there. If they have 6 people on one side, I think the strength to move to gain ground would maybe only require 4 people on the opposite side, maybe 5. You can be 1 or 2 men less maybe than the other side. I'm only guessing. If you want to gain ground, you need more people than the defenders, because anchoring yourself, so that there's a. But that's just me thinking out loud, because I don't know how it is with the footing and all that. I think you may require 1 less man to anchor and defend.
I don't think it really matters. I think it's just like, if you go like this, then you have 1 in the middle, the 5 of them can go over here, and then you push that, and then they push this one, and then it just goes, it's just always like, it's always going to go to this.
It's always going to match up with each other because...
But no, I see what Shay's saying. You can have 1 less person to defend. You know, you need that extra person in order to win, to push it through. Yeah. But to defend, you can have 1 less person, because defending is a lot easier than actually overcoming.
Less taxing on the body. If you know how to technically get grounded, and then you anchor yourself and you let them exhaust themselves through a push. Because, like, if we maintain both sides and they're like, hey, everybody rally to the left one, well, that gives us enough time to rally 1 or 2 people there, to defend. Because, again, they need a long way to get it back. But again, that premise only works if I know that they're going to go for the middle. You never know. The switch-ups could be really crazy with the game.
Or you can bring a knife. Fight off the little one, just shake them.
I wonder how, again, I love to see Australia in that game.
Australia, they probably would have dominated.
Yeah, I feel like they... Well, never know.
You never know.
Korea and versus Australia in that game would have been very, very fascinating. Korea versus Australia in that one.
I actually would like to see Japan in that one, too.
Yeah.
Japan's at the time where they had no tank, but I bet you somehow they pulled it off, So that's how they've always done.
The whole castle door thing. It disappointed me. I've always, gave them kudos, because even they make up for their lack of size by figuring it out, but they were just so off with so many things on that, running the whole cart into the door. But
what really sucked is if you were the game designer and you designed the Infinite Run, you're like, oh man, that was mine.
That was my masterpiece. I thought of.
That would have been the best ending ever.
Please choose myself.
I was kind of hoping they would actually include that somehow on there.
I'll probably done the next season.
Or they should have did something like, oh, it's not over. consolation. All the losing teams can compete in this last mission, and if whoever comes out of this one, you get to
You're actually the real winner.
well, no. Then you can compete against Korea for the final championship, and they have one more game or something like that.
But that's why I wanted a bigger finale type of thing, like the castle thing as the main one.
Nah,
They should have had that. They should have had all the old contestants that are, or all the other teams come out, stand on the sideline and cheer and stuff. They kind of missed out on all that.
I felt like it kind of felt like a little bit, what's the word, like let down, just ended kind of abruptly at the end. But
No
it was
climax.
for me, it was anticlimactic is what I'm thinking. But it was very fitting too. You know, your whole team has to fight and reach, and then how you win is you pull your flag, and by pulling your flag, you are now the champion of the entire thing. And iconically and metaphorically, that was a beautiful ending and a beautiful finish. I still would have loved to have seen them do the infinite run, just to see how that game plays out and to see how they would torture themselves running forever. But it was very fitting ending. And besides, I don't think that any of us would probably, because you just never know, but most likely Korea would have dominated anyways in the entire running thing. We could be wrong, but I think Mongolia would have just suffered a little bit harder.
Versus Mongolia,
Yeah, that's what it would have came down to. If Mongolia somehow won the second challenge, and they pulled their flag.
That's why it was kind of anticlimactic for me, because even though they were competing, like even if Mongolia happens to pull this off, I already know they're gonna lose in the next one.
In the infinite run.
Yeah, unless someone gets injured or something, I don't know, because they don't have the runners to do it, and Korea certainly has. Like,
I am surprised this entire time there was like no major injuries. There were so many times.
not that you know of.
That's true too.
See, but that is the X factor. And if I was Mongolia and somehow we pulled our flag to tie the games up, I would have had like all the big guys and all that stuff go, oh, I got injured. And then switch it up. Oh, these are marathon runners from Mongolia.
Manny Pacquiao, you're back. You're not even.
Yeah. From Mongolia.
Manny Pacquiao on the infinite run. What the hell?
Don't worry, I'm back. No,
I'm back.
yeah.
I mean, that's an X factor you can always pull though, because what can you technically do? If you said I pulled an ACL sprain or something, and I can't compete any further,
Find a replacement.
and you
Either that or they would just
remove
one of
somebody on the other side somehow. They would try to do their best to
try and make it even or something.
because the replacement thing, I think, was there intentionally for those celebrities. The celebrity contestants, because they like have to have an out. Like, I'm a big important person, I'll participate, but if something calls me back,
Well, it was just Manny Pacquiao. But the rule built
that
around
rule
Manny
was there
Pacquiao.
for that, just in case. Also for injury, I think. Also for injury, if someone's injured. But that's the most critical factor, I think, in seasons going forward, is that it does all boil down to your roster, and the roster is just hand selected by the producers or whoever.
No, are you sure? I'm pretty sure they had to go through certain things to kind of like, well, he's fit, he has the credentials. They wouldn't just like,
Well, would you guys know
randomly do
this? The question to this, I would imagine as they're competing in each games, like there's got to be a significant period of time for rest period, like after the games. Like you give them a week off or something before, because they seem like every single time they're done and they get down to the next challenge, they seem all kind of freshed up and like let's get it on. I'm like,
I don't think it's a week long, but
I don't know exactly how many days or how much
like
time.
a day or two.
Oh, yeah.
It would have to be like a day or two, unless the challenge actually wasn't that hard. Like you can probably go all out and have another
I don't know. See
competition.
me, if I just go to the gym and I push myself just a little bit harder, like I'm sore as hell for like 3 and 4 days. Like recovery time.
being
is
the one that
tough.
pushed the 100 laps of
Exactly. Imagine
All right,
that.
your next challenge is tomorrow morning.
No, later on today, go back and
I'm going to pull the Manny Pacquiao. I got someone calling. I got to go. That I mean, every single challenge, it was so taxing and grueling. I can't imagine it can't happen the next day. You'd have to have some
But then again, they're
recovery time.
athletes.
I think it can't. It's probably not next day. It's probably just one day rest, though.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
And a lot of the competitors too. Like most of them majority of them were really past their primes. You know, like there's a lot of older people in their 40s and stuff like that. Still, I want to show people what 40s coming back and still strong. You know, like when you get up there in age, your recovery it's a lot harder. Your muscles don't repair and recover as much as like a young 20-year-old or anything like that. You know,
It doesn't, but I don't think it's to the extreme. Even if you think about it, like doing the rope one, I mean, you're going fast, full blown, using everything in there, but even as us, and we're not even athletes, I bet if we do that, like, we'd recover like within an hour or something like that.
I've done the rope things. I do it all.
But you're not coming in there just, I haven't worked out or done nothing. I'm just going to try it or anything. You got to be an athlete and be able to.
But that's also the unique part about the games. A lot of these things are like the rope one. Obviously, everyone, all the competitors have done the rope thing at some point, you know, because they're all competitors in the sports and field and stuff like that. And that's just the staple of exercise. But there are a lot of these challenges that they're not typical, and they're probably going to be utilizing a lot of muscle groups that you're not used to exercising. So those are going to be extremely tender. Those are going to hurt. Though that's going to burn because they're going to repair. That thing's been torn to pieces, and it's not like, you know, a quick challenge or anything like that. It's grueling and it's taxing to the point where you're suffering and you're just collapsing. Like, I'm dead. I can't do this.
I mean, it is, but you're human. I mean, you're going to recover, especially if you're already an athlete conducting this. I mean, some of the stuff like you think happens for like 30 minutes because they film it out. It seems like it's so long in slow motion, but it was just a 5-minute competition. 5 minutes, I'm already done. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The total amount of work that they're actually doing might not be that much, even though it's super grueling in the process, but the total amount of work that they actually do might not be that much.
That's why they have like 20 retakes.
I know. Even though it's just a 3-minute competition, it's like that goes on for so long.
But I was gonna say, at the same time, there's also those competitions where there's like the shipwreck one, where that's not a quick one. That looked like a pretty grueling, you know, like remember Thailand, James, who had them all in his back. You know, like that is gonna kick your butt for the next few days. You know,
like that's one of your favorite ones.
He was great.
One of my favorite guys too.
He was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy where it's like next year Thailand's gonna be like, no, we're gonna start with him. He's gonna stay on again.
He's the captain.
He's the captain. Let him start picking out his teams. You know. Yeah, I would be interested in seeing what season 2 of Physicalasia would look like, because I think once everyone now in all the countries have gotten a taste of the competitiveness, I'd be very interested to see exactly who gets selected now and how they're going to strategize and how they're going to pick.
I hope they get
more
countries. I hope they get more countries. Like it'll be like physical world.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think they might be branching out to a new continent, and I don't know.
We talked about this many times. Would USA jump in on it? You know, I mean, Canada would be like, "Nah, we don't participate in this."
I'm pretty sure all of them have like.
I think you probably do the Europe first, maybe.
Yeah, you'd have to do a Europe. You'd have to do like a West, like America.
Africa. Ooh,
but Africa in there. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you throw in South America with America
Brazil,
too, or something like that.
Argentina.
Or
I would want to see like straight up like Serengeti, Congo, Africa, like one of the tribal things. Imagine that, man. Imagine those guys like unbeastly. They're not used to this kind of sports and stuff, but every day they're just in the jungle fucking living it, you know, chasing down gorillas and fighting lions and shit. And you put
your hands,
I know,
just choking them around and everything.
Exactly. And then you put them in these kind of competitions, like this is easy, you know, like this is like warm up, you know.
But it's within Africa though, so that'll be just all their area versus each other. See who's the biggest winner out of that though. Ooh. Then you go into the world ones, but I think all of it's pretty easy to do. You just kind of just did it with like how they did it. Just get the earpiece, have a certain country hosted for television, or unless Korea still wants to do it for these other places, but.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll continue to have it with the Korea theme of like Korea, we're hosting it. It's because it's a Korean, led show, and you know it's like Netflix, which is American based, you know, but it's like Korean driven through and through, and so I don't know if they're gonna.
But Korea has to be behind the mastermind behind it. Yeah. You know, if it's not the same producers and developers and creators of the show, it's not gonna be the same. It's just the reason the show was so interesting is, again, I can't say enough, like the brilliance of each game design, the brilliance of how to set everything up, the introductions,
The
to
editing,
every single
everything,
team.
creativity.
Yeah.
all that.
You should put like a board of like the types of games, and then like how to like, like for ideas, because like the games are either just endurance, cardio, strength, or strategy, and then you want to like like put them together to see like the types of games you can create out of that, basically.
Though
Yeah.
that's
the
what's
whole
always fun about all the seasons.
Yeah,
We've watched
basically.
3 seasons now, and all the games are creative, and we always enjoyed it because they're very basic games that you could play when you're kids. And hey, I bet you I can throw this over the wall more than you, and you're just kind of testing each other out. And so it's very simplified, but then the variables that come in, it may be endurance, it may be whatever it is. I think the aspect, what makes it fun now that they've done this so many times, is that they create games where it's hard for you to assess how to best distribute your energy throughout, how to pace yourself, that's the stuff that's kind of the hardest to gauge when there's these new games that you've never done. So as matter as strong as you are, if you don't know how to pace yourself, or if you're not balanced or whatever, that can really screw you over. And so
Yeah, so it's just like I guess like creating, how are they going to create new games, and then I don't know.
yeah,
Just
it'll
like,
be interesting. The one knock I'll have on this season is just the games are very exciting. I like the aspect that it's woven into the fabric of making it both genders that compete in all this. But I think in this season, it did feel like so much of the strategy and so much of playing it right and surviving is just about allocating your women on your team. Like I feel like they didn't let enough opportunities, or there weren't a lot of opportunities for some of the women to shine in what they do well. Almost every game was like, okay, we need the women. If it's a throwaway mission, we're just gonna put the women in. And I didn't like that. There was a lot of these female characters that I loved, that I wanted to see them sort of shine more. And some games were maybe dedicated for that, like either maybe the ring hang game or certain games that gave them.
But even the men dominated in those.
Yeah, generally overall, like all the games were fascinating, but the game plan was always about, well, how do we allocate our women? How do we put them? How do we defend them? Or they didn't really get to shine. Like one of my favorite contestants, Jang from Korea, like I never really saw her shine.
Because they never put her in a position to. Well, they don't put women in general in a position to like, oh, only women can excel in this.
Mm-hmm.
So she was always a throwaway game with that, and
but with
she
the
didn't have that
exception.
confidence either of like, I'm gonna try hard, because she always looked worried. So we put her in that position.
But I mean, it's with the exception of the one scene, which is my all-time favorite shot of the entire season, was the one-on-one platform between the two women. That's where that was like the one game that really outshined, where the women really, really got to display their.
It's great strategy by them too.
Yeah, it was a great strategy. It came down to
right. Japan did it. Yeah.
Japan and Korea, but that happened organically. That just happened on its own, and which is
That
great.
was their strategy, wasn't it?
Japan's
Japan's strategy. They were like, we're gonna try to get it to 1-on-1.
Okami was like,
Yeah,
We got to get it to 1-on-1.
because we're
we
gonna
have
keep
faith in our
nullifying each
wrestler.
other. Yeah,
We planned
Which
this.
is a great strategy, because I was like, that was smart. Because if you're gonna have a wrestler going against someone that doesn't know what to do, then I was like, she's gonna win then.
I've actually watched that scene at least 20 times, over and over again. I do. It just gives me the tingles every single time when it came down to them last two, and then how they just faced off, and she just stands there like, the Korean just stands there like there, and then the Japanese girl was just always low. But I loved it because none of them were like, yeah, or cocky or anything. They just had a mutual respect for one another, and they knew that they came down.
Comes down.
It
to
all
this.
came down.
All these rounds of just
talking
ties,
about it gave me
or
chills.
like you get ties over and over again. You just gotta keep going again. Like there was no like after 3 rounds. Well, no, it's just go again, and
She's all super focused too, like the Japanese wrestler girl.
And then Eddie's, this is so cool.
this is so cool, man.
Remark. Yeah, that is my highlights shot of the entire season. That's the one scene that I just watch over and over again all the time, and I turn it up really loud, just boom, hear the shattering and the bass and everything and the soundtrack and all that kind of stuff.
And what a way to start the season too.
Yeah.
You come off with all these countries just coming out representing their crew, the Avengers of your country, and for the first competition, you're just pitted against people in this physical mass of chaos, like right away.
Yeah.
And
that was the best way.
That
to
was
start
like that's when I was like, dang, this season's different. Like,
I think they need to do 3 girls, 3 boys if you want to see more girls shine.
perhaps
Because
a
if
little
it's
bit
just
more.
2 girls, the truth is that
Yeah.
overall on a scale, when men versus women, when it comes to athleticism, men are better.
Yeah. Well,
So
they
if
just
you
have more power, naturally, yeah.
Yeah. So if it's 4 men and 2 girls, then it's like you got to kind of like protect the girls. But if every team has 3 girls and 3 boys,
Then
then
you
it's
just
like
should
everything is kind of equal, and it's not about protecting the girls anymore.
That's
If
a
that
good
makes
point.
sense.
I like that. I mean,
It's good, but when you have that though, I think that's too sided on having too much women equal to the amount of guys there.
Yeah. But that's
Otherwise,
my point.
like your competition, if you had 3 girls and 3 guys at the end like this, yeah, I mean it's still entertaining, but it's like now you're depending on more of the women of your group to play a role against more of the other women. So it's just kind of
But
like
they have 3 women too, and they have 3 boys too.
But I think
yeah,
the
but
interesting
can
X
all of
factor.
them like do the same things that they were doing, like the whole pushing the thing. You had 3 women, 3 guys. Do you think you'd be able to push that card up that one stage?
Well,
do you
then
think
that's when
you'd
you
be able to
gotta
do
create
it?
the games that's with the idea in mind of.
I liked how they had 2 women and 4 guys there.
But,
for
but
it.
I think the big X factor when it comes to the genders of this is really in the balance of the men, right? You have your tanks, you have your speed, you have your mental strengths, all these different skill sets, like Dom being just a master of speed and rhythm and movement, and then Eddie being super duper strong, but then Japan also having, just those kind of skill sets. It kind of counterbalances one another. So when you kind of look at the men, they're kind of equal. But when the girls, then the factor is where you got to pay attention is how contrasting is one female over the other. How advantageous is it to have, just a brute strong female comparably to one that isn't as strong. Maybe she's more into
endurance
or aerobics or something. So how advantageous is it just to have, let's say, 3 big brute females, then our team has the 3 females, but they're just huge. They're like men anyways. They're as strong and as big as men, so then it becomes at a disadvantage. That's where it gets a little bit tricky because the contrast between the men, they're pretty even. There's some advantages over the other and there's some strengths and sizes and stuff like that. But I think the bigger contrast is within the females.
the disparity between women
exactly
on their own side.
Yeah. So
That's where the roster selection would be very huge for that, very critical for that. Then
so one team could have way too much advantage because your women are just too big, too strong, and if you level it out, because that is ultimately the weak point is the female gender when it comes to just brute strength and stuff like that. So then if you have the disparity of just a much more dominating female on your team, then your advantages of winning is just so much more higher now.
Yeah, well, they'd have to just. It's all roster selection then, if it were that. But I get your point, Roger, where it's like because there's 4 men and 2 women, naturally the men outnumber the women, so naturally you just kind of feel like you have to just sort of protect them or push them to the wayside just because they're outnumbered. So that's already one thing already. So. But if they were even, then maybe you look at it from a different perspective for every game. It's not about
because like most of the games was like the women are kind of the weakest link, so we kind of leave
they
them
have
for
to
like
hide them or throw them away.
They have to put them for like the weakest parts. So it's like, but if you have
but it does change the nature of like how the game's designed. But
or maybe you just have a competition for all men and have a competition for all women, and separate the sports or something. But then
it's built into the DNA of physical. Physical, that no matter your background, your profession, your gender,
and then there's that it has that appealing factor that the men and women are competing alongside each other. So you kind of like that. If you want to get into the more fairness of it, then it just becomes men versus men, women versus women. But again, I like the mixture of genders.
I like the mixture. I like seeing the women mixed in with the men. It causes disadvantages, but because everyone's in that same boat too, as well. So it makes it more interesting. Though.
Like let's just say if we were part of the panel and we were gonna think of a game, right? Like that says this one is catered to the women. Women are gonna dominate the men on this game. Like, could you ever think of any kind of physical game?
Maybe flexibility.
No, because the circus guy was like beyond.
I'm talking in a general overall. I think women are more flexible than men overall. Do you think? I have no idea.
I don't
Depends
know.
on what the
For
challenge is, though.
Yeah, it depends on
That's what
what it is.
But I mean, even the women on the
General
show, a lot of the women on the show weren't very
the
flexible.
most flexible person was the circus.
Yeah.
The circus.
Yeah, I'm just saying like an overall
Yeah,
compared
I
to
think-
like
I still wonder, and I still think that I think the totem pole holding game might give an advantage to some of the stronger women that might not have the
Possibly.
long limbs and it's closer base, closer core. And if women excel at anything, it's that long endurance strength. That
But-
long.
Okay, then let's just say you take the two top biggest and strongest women on the show. It doesn't matter what team they're on. Just
Sure.
take the two top best women,
Mhm.
and you compete that against like Eddie and the big Korean guy. Do you think the women would even have a chance to compete?
Maybe.
You think so?
Never know.
Possibly in that game.
Eddie would be like,
or it depends on the I don't know.
surgery. I got surgery on my thing. No, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, none of us gave Mongolia a shot versus Turkey's team, who were bigger and stronger. You had the guy who had surgery, Recep, and the very strong Turkish wrestler, female. They were way stronger and bigger, and no one would give them a shot versus the Mongolian team, who had their judo female and scrappy MMA guy. So
Yeah, that guy's pretty small too.
yeah, and so that's what I mean. Like, for them to hit that 41-minute mark just is very telling to me. And I know that I'm just saying it's hard to design games where it's just clear that a woman would excel in this. A lot of the hanging games, I think, might.
No,
I don't know.
I think that would be absolutely disadvantaged to
The
women,
hanging
the
ones?
hanging ones.
Because I was thinking about that
Well,
one season.
upper hand.
That's
hanging
what I
like
mean. That
yeah.
one season when that was the challenge. You just hang there for as long as you can. And
Men have a much higher advantage on that game.
but
Actually,
I don't
They're
think
just
it's. I mean,
their body strength.
there is
Rip.
advantages to men being stronger than the women in your group, though. But I think the real focus should just be what challenges can be done for the women to compete against the other women at that competition.
Like head
so it's-
on.
Yeah, it's more anything that deals with like their own body weight or directly individually for the women. It's more fair on that part, even if they put it in there. But there's so many of the games and the stages where it required the whole team, so it didn't require the women on certain parts, or you got to lift up a big heavy ball. Like, yeah, the woman's going to help too as well, but it's not directed for the women to actually compete about that. Maybe it's something to do with, running a long time or doing something that you're competing against the other women on. Like if the women were doing that, the swing one or something
The
like
rolls?
that. If it's just women versus women like that,
It's a different kind.
it's a clear cut even playing field at that point.
Maybe it's just
a one which is stronger at that
There's
point.
a rule that like you have to include one woman playing this game. Like
I think
for
they mentioned certain games like that, but
Yeah.
But I'd love to see a game where a woman versus a man, and the woman actually beats the man too.
Yeah,
Like that.
There's been games like on
Of
physical,
course.
yeah,
And that that's where it actually gets very satisfying, very exciting, and that's when you bring so much value into the women's side. You're like, no, these aren't just weak links. They're competing enough. They can beat the men on this particular challenge.
Yeah, but like so basically the
Yeah,
idea is
creative
what you're
with
trying
that.
to think of is just what challenges favor women over men.
just gotta get creative with that.
And I don't know. Like, yeah, I can't really think of anything because you could just look at sports. Men beat women in all sports, pretty much every single sport out there.
And
Most, yeah.
in general
Yeah.
or something like that. So, but let's just say,
Most.
for example, like the platform one, right? Let's just say at the end it was the Turkish wrestler woman, the heavyweight, super strong Turkish wrestler woman, and let's say she was up against the circus guy. That would be really interesting,
Oh,
like
yeah,
he would probably get his ass whooped.
Oh, yeah.
She would just throw him around like a
Very
rag doll.
close. Yeah, very similar weight class.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to watch
Never
something
know.
like that if it came down to something like that,
Yeah, I'd put
And it would be really fun to watch to say, oh dang, like she just completely beat the shit out of him and tossed him around like a rag doll and defeated him, But I to get that kind of scenario, it would all the puzzles of the pieces would just have to fall perfectly in place for that to happen. But unfortunately, we're like I've mentioned before, we were robbed out of a lot of potential, possible, matchups that just will never happen. Just because of the way the chips fell, and that's just unfortunate how the games work. But it just is what it is.
No, good season overall. I was very sad when it ended. It felt a little anticlimactic, but I was more just kind of down the fact that, man, this whole it's all done now. There's like it got sadder the more it progressed because there were fewer people every show, and it's just like, oh, these people are leaving. I really like these people, and now it's like only 2 teams left. And
that's how I felt about like Physical 100, like
Yeah.
the previous ones, because you just eliminate so many of these people now, and then you're just
only a few
set it
people
on to
left,
only a
and
few
it's
left.
kind of sad. And then you're just done with it. And yeah, so I'll be looking forward to when I don't know what direction they'll be taking it, but it's a damn good season. Lots about culture, lots about competition, game design, the physics of the mechanics of moving things, and the game design. Everything was just really good. There's a reason why the show is very much a global hit, and I don't know.
If the producers are ever fall upon watching this podcast, the Hmong people are very strong people.
We are ready.
We don't have a country, but we are very strong people. Our country would probably be USA Hmong.
What do we got? Sunisa Lee, and then that's it.
She'd be the star.
Yeah.
She's the leader.
Denise would
The
be our
leader for the
captain.
Hmong. The
Yeah.
captain would be a
She'd be our
female.
captain.
She's and then
No,
that's it.
I'm sure we have pretty strong Hmong people out there. We just don't know about. But I'm pretty sure there's strong Hmong people that can probably compete in these type of competitions.
I don't know.
Not me.
If they'd be like the other competition.
You never
that they're
know.
facing.
You never
Honestly,
know.
before any of this, like
Whitaker and like Eddie.
before
like, all
any
these
of this,
guys.
I didn't even know like there were so many like physical people out there in the world like this. Like Korea, when we first watched Physical 100, I was like, there's like 100 physical Korean people, you know. So there has to be like
Yeah, it's 100. There's like a million there. So
still,
I mean-
there's got to be some like
Of course you can find you can
yeah, there's
find
physical people everywhere.
very physically gifted Hmong people.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they might surprise you. It's still going to be harder to see how well they do when you're competing against the 6th best of another country.
Yeah,
that's
that's what I'm
different.
saying. That's
But you
like-
never know, man. You just never know. All right.
I don't know. I have
You
no
never
idea.
know.
I don't know what Hmong person's playing.
Hmong people are gonna
Volleyball.
drink shots before
Yeah.
every single round.
Take a shot. Hold
Playing
up.
spades between.
We're at the table. Oh, looks like Thailand showed up. Looks like
But I'm sure we
Korea's
have.
here.
because I mean you just look at Mongolia. Like you look at all the people from Mongolia. It's just kind of like you have the MMA guy, this guy. Like Hmong people, we have the same thing too. You know, we got our MMA guy, right? And
No, there is.
maybe
I don't know. We have a runner.
I'm
Do
sure
we have a gymnastics
I'm
guy?
sure there's one out there for it too.
Tang Mo, he's a runner. Wow.
But I did not know I didn't know there were physical people in Mongolia. And then by watching the show, you see all the cultures and like, oh, there's people that do this and do this and do that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
pretty
like
sure.
Hmong people, we're like nomads. We don't even have a country. We don't have like Mongolia is a whole ass country with people and like we're like we don't have a country. You know.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure you can still find some Hmong people. There.
I bet the villages in Thailand and Laos and we'll pick those guys out.
Pretty sure.
We'll never know. We'll represent eventually one day the Hmongland for the Hmong people. So
It's just fucking.
We gotta
Alright.
find our own signature.